Hey everyone, so today we're going to talk about the invisible architecture that shapes, well, your entire life. And no, I'm not talking about buildings. I'm talking about something way more powerful, your beliefs. So let's dive in and maybe figure out what kind of structure you've built for yourself. So let me just ask you this, straight up. Are your beliefs a window or are they a wall? I mean, do they open you up to what's possible, or do they kind of box you in, limiting what you can see and what you can do? This is the big question we're really going to get into today. All right, so what do I even mean by the architecture of belief? Well, think of it like this. It's the invisible scaffolding that your whole identity is built on. It's what holds up your sense of meaning. It dictates how you see the world, your place in it, and the craziest part? A lot of the time, you don't even realize it's there. And this is so important to get. Your beliefs are never passive. They're not just sitting there. They are active lenses. They filter and color every single experience you have. They don't just observe your reality, they're literally helping to create it. And this right here, this just illustrates the point perfectly. Take a look. You could have two people facing the exact same situation, the exact same set of facts, but because of their underlying beliefs, they're living in two completely different worlds. For one person, it's all danger, punishment, tragedy. For the other, it's courage, gifts, opportunity. The facts on the ground are the same, but the story they tell themselves and the life they experience is totally transformed. Okay, so if these beliefs are that powerful, it begs the question, right? Where do they even come from? Let's take a look at what we could call our inherited blueprints, that first draft of our inner world. For most of us, our earliest beliefs aren't really chosen. They're just absorbed. From our family, from our culture, from our schools. We basically download them to fit in, to belong. And this happens long before we ever have the tools to stop and ask that really critical question. Hang on, is this actually true for me? There's actually a really fascinating concept for this from a philosopher named René Girard. He called it mimetic desire. And the basic idea is that we learn what to believe and even what to want mostly by copying the people around us. It's a super fundamental part of being human. And it means that, for better or for worse, most of our beliefs, they aren't really ours to begin with. And that brings us to a really, really important distinction. Because the structures we end up building from these beliefs, they can go one of two ways. They can either become these liberating homes for our minds, or they can become prisons. And it all comes down to the kind of stories our beliefs are telling. And believe me, the stakes here could not be higher. Liberating beliefs, they're the ones that grow things like resilience, compassion, creativity. Think about a belief like failure is just data. That's liberating, right? But then you have imprisoning beliefs. They're the ones that trap us in these loops of feeling worthless and powerless. A belief like, if I fail, it means I am a failure. That's a prison. And the kind of life you get from each of those, they're worlds apart. But here's the puzzle, isn't it? If some of these beliefs are so obviously damaging, why on earth do we hold on to them so tightly? Well, this quote kind of gets to the heart of it. A lot of the time, we cling to what hurts us just because it's familiar. It's a strange thing, but sometimes the certainty of a prison can feel safer than the wide-open, scary freedom of the unknown. But, and this is probably the most important thing I'll say today, we are not stuck. We absolutely can move from being just passive residents in these mental houses to becoming the active architects. So this next part, this is all about making the choice to renovate. You really have to let this sink in. Your beliefs are not your destiny. They are choices. The second you truly get that, a door just swings open to this incredible freedom. It means you get to pick up the tools and decide for yourself what to keep and what needs to be torn down and rebuilt. So, okay, how do we actually do this? Here's a super simple but really powerful way to start. First, just identify a core belief you hold. Then, you ask yourself some tough questions. Does this belief make my life feel bigger, or does it shrink it? Does it help me love better, create more, and get through tough times? Or does it just close me off from what's possible? This is the real practical work of doing that renovation.
Let's take a really powerful example, how we deal with suffering. If your core belief is that suffering is just meaningless and random, well, hardship is probably going to break you. But what if you reframe that? Not by pretending it doesn't hurt, but by adopting a new belief that suffering can be endured with dignity. Suddenly, you can tap into a kind of resilience you never even knew you had. This isn't about being blindly optimistic. It's about building a stronger, more durable structure for your life.
And that really brings us to our final big idea here. We're not just architects of our beliefs. We are also the authors of the stories that we live inside of. This is about consciously, intentionally creating your own masterpiece.
I absolutely love this quote. Look, we all live inside stories. That's just part of being human. It's unavoidable. The real danger, the real trap, is when we forget that they are stories and we start treating them like they're solid, unchangeable facts. The very first step to becoming the author of your life is just remembering that you're the one holding the pen.
So it all comes back to this one central truth, doesn't it? Belief is the architecture of meaning. It's the whole shebang. The blueprint, the scaffolding, the raw materials we use to build a life that actually feels meaningful.
And if there's one thing you take away from all this, let it be this. It is such a profound, empowering truth. When you make a conscious decision to change the story you tell yourself, the actual structure of your life starts to shift and change right along with it. It has to.
So we're going to end right where we started, with a question for you. Yeah, the first blueprints might have been handed to you, but the final design? That's always, always yours. Your story is not finished. So the only question that really matters is, what are you going to write next?